Making the innovation journey. Making that journey of innovation, as we've seen, involves searching, selecting, implementing, creating and capturing value, and is influenced by having a strategy, a clear framework and direction, and the ability to change course, and it's affected by leadership, organisation and networking. And above all, it's something we learn to do. Each time we make the innovation journey, even if we don't do as well as we might, we've learned something which can help us do it better next time. We also need some way of making this journey, and we've talked a little about the kinds of vehicle we might want to use, the vessels if we're talking about ships, the way we get along our journey. Now, one size, of course, is unlikely to fit all the different things we might want to do. Think about our innovation spectrum that we've already seen. On the one end of that spectrum, we have incremental innovation, doing what we do a little better. And on the other end of that spectrum, radical innovation, perhaps doing something we've never seen before. Now, we might want very different kinds of vehicle, very different kinds of vessel to take us on journeys around those different innovation places. If we're talking about incremental innovation, perhaps just sailing across the bay or across the river, we probably only need a small, simple rowing boat. As we start to go further, we're going to need a ship. As we start to go long distances, we might want a great big ocean-going ship. And at times, we might want to try something very experimental, where we want to be fast and agile. Now, there's all sorts of different possibilities. The key message is one size doesn't fit all. But size of organisation does make a difference. If we're talking about a startup, for example, this is essentially the world of a small, fast speedboat. Startups are fast, are flexible, are agile. They have to be because they've got limited resources. And that's the kind of vehicle which you can use to start something. By the time you get to be a large organisation, a Google, a 3M or a Toyota, it's a different kind of challenge. We still need to make the innovation journey, but now we're probably talking about multiple parallel journeys, lots of different vessels making short and long journeys into the innovation unknown. And so our skills there become those around managing a fleet of ships, not just a single project. But underneath, it's still the same basic set of lessons about how the journey works, the key things that influence it. So, different journeys, different ships, but the same basic pattern. For a startup, the model might look something like this. A lot of emphasis on recognizing opportunities, finding resources, developing the venture, and hopefully capturing value. For an established organization who do this again and again, they might ask those questions in a more systematic fashion. But essentially, even though the models might be different in terms of the labeling, underneath what's going on is the same basic journey. What about a social innovation? Well, this is an interesting version of an innovation journey map. This is from the humanitarian innovation sector, and here they're concerned very much with recognizing what is the problem, what's the challenge we're trying to deal with, and searching for solutions. Maybe adapting something someone already has done, maybe inventing something new. Trying that out in pilot scale, moving it to full scale, and hopefully diffusing it in a way where many, many people can benefit and we capture the value. The labels are different, but underneath it's the same basic map. And that's the real message of this module, that innovation takes place as a journey from idea to create value. And it does it in a number of stages. The journey itself may be complicated, the labels may vary, but underneath the same basic activities are the ones we need to manage. So, if we think about innovation as a process, labels may differ, but that underlying process remains the same. It's not a simple straight line, there's lots of stops and starts, and dead ends and loops and curves. It's uncertain, and the more radical the innovation, the more twists and turns there are likely to be. But making the journey still has the same basic set of stages. So if we understand these different phases, then we can focus our efforts in particular ways and use tools in particular fashion to move forward. But underneath all of this is the importance of learning and building capability for next time. So, one last point, innovation models matter. Remember, how we think about something is going to shape the way we manage it, what we pay attention to, what we give resources to, how we organise and manage innovation. And so we have to be very clear that we're starting with a clear model. So let's briefly summarise. Innovation is a journey, and we're interested in building capability to make that journey repeatedly. One size doesn't fit all. We need to configure our vehicles and our approach to making the journey, whether we're a startup or a giant organisation, and whichever sector we're working in. Startups may have a single innovation journey to be concerned about. Established organisations need to manage a fleet, many voyages taking place at the same time. Each journey may be different, but underneath it's the same basic process, the same pattern, and we can learn to manage each of those phases more effectively. Overall, the evidence is clear. We can learn and build innovation management capability.